welcome to our Path to Progress webinars, episode 7. Today I have with me Mr. Zardasht Banay. He is the managing partner and senior advisor for Irtiqa Solutions, which is an organizational development and transformation consultancy organization based in Dubai, UAE. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Zardasht.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shahrukh. Pleasure to be here.
Great. So today's topic for our webinar is organizational culture in terms of how core values shape organizational culture. So before we go into the topic, let me just take a minute to introduce both of us. So Mr. Zardasht, if you could introduce yourself and your career a little bit for our audience.
Sure, thank you very much. So my name is Zardasht Banay. As you mentioned, I am currently serving as a managing partner and senior advisor of Irtiqa Solutions. Irtiqa Solutions is a consulting firm that supports organizations in their transformation in a simplified and accelerated way. So we support government and companies in their transformations. Prior to that, I worked at Weatherford for 10 years as an HR director for Middle East and North Africa. Within that, I also led the transformation for the Eastern Hemisphere for 2 years. And I worked for 5 years with General Electric, covering the sub-region here in MENA. And I was also leading projects related to EVP and competency model, building the employee and corporate mindset. And prior to that, I also worked in a telecommunication company, Asia Cell Telecommunication, which is a partner with Ooredoo, for 8 years as an HR director for the region as well. And I have also 5 years working with United Nations and 2 years as a mechanical engineer.
Wow, that's a very celebrated career. Thank you. I am Shahrukh Mirza.
Thank you.
Your host for today. And I'm also the regional HR consultancy head for People Perfect Worldwide. Basically, my career is also spread almost over 3 decades with about 10 years in the US, 10 years in the UAE, and about 10 years in Pakistan. My areas are organizational development, HR consultancy, as well as I have headed HR for various organizations, both in UAE as well, like Khalij Times, Habib Bank, AG Zurich, and Al Yusuf Group, LLC. Aside from that, in Pakistan as well, I started my career with the People organization that I've rejoined towards the end of my career. So it's really a pleasure once again to host other HR professionals on this professional forum, such as yourself. Let's go straight into our topic. Now, we know that organizational culture is fundamentally based on core values, which act as a root for the behaviors, the beliefs, and practices that define a company's working environment. These core values function as you could say the guiding principles that dictate how employees will behave, make their decisions, interact, and create a kind of a consistent shared experience throughout the organization. So how core values shape the organizational culture becomes very essential. If core values are the roots of the organizational culture, as per their definition, they serve as the foundation for employee behavioral expectations, which we know is an important area for performance management for many companies that can give a weightage of anywhere between, let's say, 30 to 50% on this in the annual appraisal. And the remaining weightage then goes to, of course, the objective side or performance targets of the role, excuse me. So in terms of, my first question would be, in terms of leadership modeling, how do we get senior managers to consistently model the organization's core values in their day-to-day actions and decisions?
Sure. Thank you. Again, very interesting topic and a very good question. So talking about values and also culture, it's like a topic that's always debatable, from the definition of them and also from the application of them in the organization. So let's just go one step back and look at the values. What do you mean by values? We hear terms like core values, growth values, and so on. So the way I look at it based on my knowledge and experience, there's a difference between core values or other values, whether it's a growth values or values related to strategy, because core values is the values that reflect and represent the identity of the organization throughout the history and the heritage of that organization. For instance, in some organization like Amazon, one of the values that they have is speed. For Apple, it is quality. So these are core values that reflect the identity, and also the values or the core values that they are touching on the key capabilities of the organization. Again, speed for Amazon, quality for Apple. The other values like growth values, these are the values that are changing. So you come up with them when you change your strategy, when you are trying to expand as an organization, getting into new market, doing merger or acquisition. So you come up with the new values that align with those new strategies. Then the link between values and culture, the way that we can look at it is the value is the behaviors that we expect the organization and the people that demonstrate. The culture is living those values. So the values are the things that we need to become, but the culture is already we are demonstrating. This is the way that we work together, the relationship that we are conducting, the way that we deal with our stakeholders. So values drive behaviors, and behaviors represent the culture.
Sure.
So back to your question, how leaders can support in making the values real. So there are three things that, in my view, that managers need to do to make sure that their organization are representing the required values. First is lead by example. So managers and leaders of organization, they should demonstrate those values from themselves. So when you talk about a value as a senior leader, and people see you, that you are applying those values in the way that you interact with them, in the way that you interact with stakeholders, the way that you interact with the entire organization, they see you, they observe you, they hear you, they feel you, implementing and applying it, then they follow you. And the other way around is also true. If you, as a leader, you talk about the value of your organization at any level in the organization, then you are not applying it in your day-to-day interaction with people. And people simply will not follow. They don't take it seriously. This is the first thing. Second one is, again, leaders of the organization, they have to operationalize the values, make sure that the values and those behaviors will become part of the processes. We can talk about it in later stage in this session about how the values can be embedded in the system and structure of the organization. Leaders will lead that. Leaders need to contribute and to make sure that the values are embedded in all the system and structures of the organization, and they support that they build processes based on those values.
Sure.
The second thing is also applying them. So when you put them in the processes, you design your processes based on those values and behaviors, then you have to apply them, you have to execute them. So leaders play a key role into making sure that the values and the behaviors are also applied in every single thing that the people and the organization is doing.
Great.
So I hope that answered your question.
Yes, of course. I think you've touched upon a very important area of this topic. You also mentioned in your response that employees, they don't always follow the values initially. And so my next question was also about that. How do we handle situations where employees, especially in key roles, deliver high objective results, exceed performance targets? So they are your A players I'm talking about. But at the same time, they violate the organizational cultural and core values. How do we handle this as HR?
That's really very valid question, very important question, and this is something that organization is facing, you know. So I can refer to that question by a quote from Warren Buffett, the famous businessman, the famous investor. He says, organization, when they hire people, they look for three capabilities, three things: integrity, energy, and intelligence. If they doesn't have the first one, the other two will kill you. So if people have the energy and intelligence and they don't have the integrity, they will kill the organization. And I've seen that in my experience. So elaborating more on your question, contributing into organization goals and objectives has two ways. What are the performance? What are the contributions that you are making to the strategy? What are the results that you can achieve through versus the target that you have? Then how you do it. This is the other part of it, you know. So it's not only about you achieve the results, which is, of course, that's why you are hired by this organization.
Yes.
But how you do it. Are you doing it with shortcuts? Are you doing it with things that might not be aligned with the regulations? Are you doing it with the way that is not aligned with the internal policy of the organization? Then how the organization deal with that? So in my experience, most of the organizations that I have worked with, there's zero tolerance for integrity issues. So no matter how qualified you are, no matter how energetic or intelligent you are, no matter how your results is achieved or even exceeded, you have to do it in the right way. Otherwise, there is zero toleration. So how you do that? Of course, you have to have the right process, the right culture,
yes,
the right philosophy to deal with these things. You know, I can share, like, for instance, in a company like GE, which I worked with, the performance appraisal at that time, which it has been changed even to better setup after that. It was people were evaluated based on both performance and values. So half of the evaluation was about the performance. You've been rated by 3 ratings for the performance, the contribution to the results, to the business, then how you have achieved it. So we had a robust evaluation process to evaluate people based on the values as well. So again, to summarize back to your question, the way that I look at it is that you have to perform to contribute, but you have to do it in the right way. If you are not doing it in the right way, for me, this is a concern and a gap that the organization should address properly.
Great. Thank you for elaborating on that. I'm going to hop around a few questions in the interest of time, since you've already answered those. My next question was, how do we determine an organizational cultural benchmark, right? And that we can, through a psychometric tool or, some other way, later determine whether our employees are aligned with that benchmark or not. In other words, at one time, Peter Drucker, the management guru, he said that the culture of an organization is the culture of its leader or CEO, captain of the ship, as they say. So my question was, how do we determine our cultural benchmark? Does that mean, for instance, we have to assess the culture of the CEO or the leader? And second part of the question was, how do we actually, ensure that the people we are hiring are a good cultural fit with that? I mean, do we go through a psychometrics or something else at the time of hiring? Yes, please.
Sure. Again, very good question. So the way that I look at it is that measuring culture is through like a systematic approach, whether it's like a questionnaire, survey, and things like that. I look at it is difficult. It might not give you the the correct input. Why? Because it is very broad. Culture is a history, is a heritage, is the legacy of the organization. You can measure and observe the culture in much easier way. You know, when you interact with when you go to a supermarket and you get into a connection with an agent in that supermarket, in 1 minute or even less, you can assess the culture of that organization from the way that that person deals with you. When you call a call center of any of the companies, from the way that they handle your question, you can assess the culture of that organization. So this is the event that you can assess it in seconds, sometimes,
Yes.
or maximum in minutes. Then later on, it comes to the pattern of the organization, which are the behaviors. Again, when you, for instance, you join an organization and you go and spend the first week or first 2-3 weeks, then you understand then more about the values and the behaviors of the people, then you can assess it. Then the third part is the identity of the organization, which we talked about. The identity of the organization describes itself. So for me, you can still have some surveys, you can still have some questionnaires to assess, but for me, it is very obvious. So the way that you have an opportunity to interact with organization, you can assess their culture. The other part is how you shape the culture. Although the culture is totally a different topic. It's totally a different subject. We can have a session about that. Shaping a culture, there are things that you have to do. But I'm just answering your question about assessing the current culture of the organization. The other part of your question was about how we embed those tools in assessing the culture or when we hire people or when we apply the system and structures, how we embed those cultural aspects into those systems and structure.
Yeah, more than embedding.
In the hiring of definitely, yeah, please.
I beg your pardon, but yeah, you're absolutely right. But more than embedding it, my question was like, at the time of hiring, what tools can we use to ensure that the person we're hiring is going to be a cultural fit for us?
Yes, yes. Very good. So there are different ways that you can do that. And it depends on the candidates that you are hiring. For instance, if you're hiring fresh grads with no experience, most of them, they have similar GPAs, and you have like 30 candidates and you're hiring, you have 5 positions to fill. Then you can build those psychometric tests or behavioral intelligence tests that you can apply. And based on that, you can select the people who can differentiate themselves against the others. This is one way. When you have more candidates with less experience and you have less positions, you can still apply this to other candidates just to get a sense of how they are aligned with the culture of your organization. But the more effective way for candidates they have experience is the situational questions, you know, based on the nature of the job. What are the values that driving that jobs? What are the behaviors that driving that job to be successful? Then you ask questions. For instance, you say, okay, describe a time that you were encouraged a customer to buy more product from your organization. So this is a question that helps you and push those candidates to talk about things that they have done. Tell me about the time that you took a significant risk and it did not produce the outcome that you hoped for. These type of questions. So to summarize again, you can use both systematic approach and also you can use also the situational type of questions.
Great. Just quickly, I think I had a question which I wanted to ask, but in the interest of time, the question was, what for HR professionals, you know, how can they, sort of embed the culture in their practices, whether it's hiring, whether it's performance, whether it's identification of cultural gap. We as HR professionals, what processes or steps can we take to embed the culture in our HR operational practices?
Yeah, of course. Look, as we discussed in the first question, one of the key things to make sure that behaviors are embedded in the organization is to embed them in the system and structure and the processes. And here we are talking about people. So all the behaviors and the cultural aspect of organization are demonstrated by the people. And HR is the people function. So HR played a key role, a significant role, to make sure that the processes, the policies, the structure are designed to support embedding those behaviors or values. We just talked about the recruitment process. You can build your questions for interviewing and selecting people based on the behaviors.
Right.
You can come up with a set of questions for each behaviors. You can come up with categorize them based on the levels, because the values that's expected from people differ from a value from the level of the people. And of course, your training programs, the training program, you have to design in a way that enhance the values, enhance the behavior that the organization expects from people.
Sure.
The performance management, which is very important, that you build your performance management system in a way that you evaluate the performance and also evaluate the behaviors of the people, and so on. So HR play a key role, but it's not only HR job, it's also a job of the senior leaders of the organization. They both work together to make sure that those values and behaviors are embedded in a right way and demonstrate the right culture of the organization.
Great, Mr. Zardasht. I think that's a great summary. Just your final take in the last minute or two. What would you, give to our audience on this very important subject of organizational cultural alignment?
Look, the way that I can say it is, assuming that our audiences are Gen Z and also employees, two things. Make sure that you understand the values of your organization. What are the behaviors that's expected? And make sure that every day you assess yourself. What have you done? Is it contributing positively to the values, or you have to do it differently? So this is what I would like to recommend.
Mr. Zardasht, we have almost run out of time for this webinar, but would like to take the opportunity here to thank you very much for your valuable time and sharing insights on a topic that is so important in organizations. And we hope that you can be joining us on a future webinar very soon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shahrukh. It was a pleasure to be here, and thanks for the opportunity again.
Thank you very much, sir. Have a nice day.
Thank you.